Carolina Panthers are headed to Germany to take on the New York Football Giants, and there is still a question that remains, according to Dave Canales, and that is, who is going to be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers on Sunday? And folks, I'm here to tell you, I don't think this should be that hard. What exactly are we trying to do here? I posted a short video earlier in the day detailing a few things. I don't know how many people got to see it. It was up on YouTube Shorts, posted it on X as well. I got to tell you, if the Carolina Panthers, well, there's a few factors as I record this. One is Bryce Young going to be traded? That's always got to be in consideration. I don't think he is going to be traded. All the signs are pointing to him being here. So if you rule out any type of trade scenario, remember the deadline is Tuesday, November 5th at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, New York Standard Time. If he is here on this roster and they head over to Germany, there is no reason why he should not be your starting quarterback. And if Dave Canales at that point wants to make a decision to start a 37-year-old quarterback, that's it. That's the end of Bryce Young. And I know we kind of had this like roller coaster back and forth. He's benched. Andy starts. Andy gets hurt. Kind of a freak accident to think about, a car wreck, derailing it. Andy at least was out one game. We know Andy talked about being able to play this past game. And now we're back here, back at this discussion. And maybe I've heard different takes. Maybe this is Dave Canales' approach and model to keep Bryce Young on his toes. Kind of an ego level setting situation. If you think about the number one overall quarterback and a quarterback, I don't say things were handed to him, but in general, he's been very successful across his entire career. And now to come in and battle and face some adversity, and maybe Dave Canales likes kind of pushing those buttons. I know a lot of people think of him as a nice pushover kind of guy. But hey, maybe he's just like, you know what? I'm going to push this button to really get with Bryce Young and like get under his skin. So that could be a path forward. But if we are a realistic football team and a football team that wants to be taken seriously at 2-7, we are playing the New York Football Giants, who are also 2-7, coming off of a win. And let's talk about a win over the New Orleans Saints that got Dennis Allen fired. Folks, you know it's bad. You know the other teams are down bad when they're firing their coaches, when their players are firing off tweets. Y'all have the same amount of wins as we do. Speaking of the Saints, same amount of wins. 2. That's it. 2-2. Both of us, 2 wins. Not 2-2 overall, but both of us have 2 wins. Now 2-7. We're technically tied the division. But that's how lowly people think of the Carolina Panthers these days. It's what happened. So here we go. 2-7 football team. Again, traveling. Bryce Young is on here. He's got to start. And folks, we can look back at, and I pulled the stats for this last night. Actually this morning. Taking a look at the sample size between Bryce Young and his first 2 starts compared to the last 2 starts. And it's significant improvement. Is he playing lights out? No. But he's playing better. And you wonder, at least I do, what could have been if he played more in the preseason. That's past us. In the Saints game, the very first time around, we know how bad that was. 161 yards passing, 43.3% completion percentage, 5.4 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, sacked 4 times, passer rating of 32.8. Follow that up with a performance against the Chargers, 84 yards passing. How in the world? 69.2% completion percentage. He was completing those passes, though. 3.2 yards per pass attempt. That's not so good. 0 touchdowns, 1 interception, sacked twice, 57.2 passer rating. This is what led to Bryce Young's benching. Those 2 performances combined, it was terrible. We know that. We agreed, at least most people did, that he needed to sit. Whatever camp you were in, Bryce Young needed to sit. So here he comes back after the injury to Andy Dalton, battles the Broncos, one of the best defenses in the NFL. 224 yards passing, which was the third most passing yards. I haven't looked at how they did this week. I think Lamar Jackson I think no one said he put up a decent amount. So now probably the fourth most passing yards against this Broncos defense. But either way, pretty close. Still good numbers. 64.9% completion percentage. 6.1 yards per carry. He almost doubled his line from the last start against the Chargers. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I know one of those touchdowns came later in the game. He was sacked twice. 76.9 passer rating. So then you follow up with the Saints, and I know the Saints depleted in the secondary. 171 yards passing, 61.5% completion percentage. So hovering in 60, much better than the first game around. 6.6 yards per attempt, his best of the season. Yards per pass, I should say, not attempt. 1 touchdown. The 1 interception he had, that wasn't on him. That was a fantastic play by the defensive back. Hands down. Hands up. He stripped it away. Could have been more of a strip fumble than an interception, but it gets called an interception. Heck of a play. Sacked 1 time, 77.6 rating. Passer rating hovering in the 70s, upper 70s. Improvements on completion percentage and yards per attempt. Now, we can talk about the scheme itself with Bryce Young and Dave Canales. I understand the screen passes, the shots downfield or lack thereof can be frustrating as a Panthers fan. But it makes sense. It makes too much sense. You've got a guy who's on a rookie contract, so that's one check mark. A guy that has shown you, like if you compare between Andy Dalton and Bryce Young, Andy Dalton is not that much better. Like if we wanted to look at them today, maybe someone says he's a little bit better. I don't know that I could argue that considering the decline that we've seen with Andy Dalton and Andy Dalton's win against a terrible Raiders team. So you have that going for Bryce Young as well. But I think about the mental aspect of this, and it's been a tough battle. Like we said, a lot of things handed to Bryce Young, including the starting job when he came here. Like he can't control that. But he's been in the driver's seat. He's never really been benched like this before in his career. I know he's sat, but not benched like out of the gate. So he gets benched, sits out the 5 games or so, and now gets a chance at redemption. And it feels like he's taking it in. I'm not going to say he's perfect because there were passes and opportunities the other day where the Saints didn't make a play. That's football. I mean, things like that happen. The Panthers have had too many situations recently, it felt like, where those bad things happen. And the Panthers are on the losing end of whatever pops up. So for now, Dave Canales needs to make a decision for the future of this franchise. And guess what? He can still start Bryce Young, and then he can still go back next year, this offseason, if he chooses to, and decide, I'm going to roll with Andy Dalton. What I like to say, though, is he should honestly be considered with a psych evaluation if he is that crazy. If that is the route that Dave Canales chooses to go down. So be it. I don't know how much longer he will be an NFL coach. I think even then in the offseason, if that's his path forward, he can find a more experienced veteran, or a veteran, I should say, with a little more experience, that's a little bit younger, and bring him in to compete alongside Bryce Young. Not saying that Andy Dalton is not a solution, but folks, we've seen it. We've seen the show. It's not like we're going to get anything new. And at 2-7, if we're being honest, the thought of any type of playoff or push or anything actually occurring doesn't seem logical. And I think you really will destroy Bryce Young's confidence. And you might as well, like, if you are not going to play him on Sunday, you need to trade him by the trade deadline. Just get it out. Otherwise, you're talking about a complete and utter mess the next, 9-10 weeks of the NFL season as we close this thing out. And then everyone just waits around for I guess it's only 8 weeks. But anyways, waits around for the end of the season, and then you move through and wait till he can officially be traded and start that whole entire process. But for me, continue to trot Bryce out there. Give him a chance to showcase what he can do week over week in your new system. And like, he gives us a better chance mobility-wise than Andy Dalton does. And I'm like, Andy Dalton cannot move around the way that Bryce Young can. And I know Bryce Young, again, like we talked about, he makes some mistakes. But for me, this is an absolute no-brainer. Give it to Bryce Young, folks. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's episode. CD, y'all have a good